Good day everyone, we are from Tutorial 3, Group 4. Today we are going to discuss Chapter 4, the Management Environment.
I'm Phang Zi Qing and these are my group members. Poong Gui Hung, Zhuo Chang, Han Yeap, Foong Yi Hern, Tong Che Rong, Lim Chong Zong, and also Mohammad, Tasifur, Rahman.
Hi everyone, my name is Zhun. Today I will talk about question 1 and question 2. So now let's have a look at question 1 first. How much impact do managers actually have on organization's success or failure? First, I would like to talk about what are the duties of managers. Here, I divide managers into 3 levels. First, the top level managers control and oversee the entire organization. They develop goals, strict plans, company and places, and make decisions on the direction of the business. Then the mid-level managers devote more time on organizational and directional functions, such as defining and discussing the information and places from the top management to lower management, and inspiring and providing guidance to low-level managers towards better performance. And the third is the low-level managers. They usually control and direct, assigning employees tasks, guiding and supervising employees on day-to-day activities. From the omnipotent view of the management, we can note that managers are directly responsible for an organization's success or failure. Managers symbolize control and influence by developing plans, making decisions, and engaging in other managerial activities to make sense of random, confusing, and ambitious situations. To sum up, managers have a great impact of the success or failures of an organization.
Okay, my name is Mohammad Rahman. For question number 2, why do managers need an understanding of what happens outside their organizations? Give examples of how changes in the external environment can affect their job. First, I would like to give definition. What are the things happens outside the organizations? These things can be collectively referred to as the external environment, which is composed of all the outside factors or influences that impact the operation of the businesses. Secondly, why do managers need an understanding of what happens outside their organizations? First of all, managers can more grasp the development opportunities of the organizations. For example, it is necessary that managers continually monitor and adapt to the external environment, working to make proactive changes earlier on rather than having to a proactive approach, which can lead to a vastly different outcome. It helps the firm to identify opportunities and get the first mover advantage. Secondly, increases the organization's sense of social responsibility and sustainable development. For example, many governments impose quotas on amount of harmful substances firms can emit within a time frame and fine businesses that overpollute or ignore the legislation. Thirdly, adjust its own development strategy through the external economic environment. For example, such as competitiveness, budgeting, decision-making, and the marketing mix. How changes in the external environment can affect managers' job. First of all, influence managers to assign positions in the organizations. For example, this constraint was painfully obvious during the post-global recession as millions of jobs were eliminated and unemployment rates rose to levels not seen in many years. Although such readjustments are not bad in and of themselves, they do create challenges for managers who must balance work demands and having enough people with the right skills to do an organization's work. Secondly, The development of science and technology affect managers' choice of office mode and office location. For example, due to the development of internet, more and more online meeting apps have appeared in our lives, such as Teams and Zoom. Then some managers choose meeting at online apps rather than meeting physically. Thirdly, influence stakeholder relationships. For example, stakeholder and stockholder relationships. For example, how does Amazon continue to enter and dominate ever-widening marketers? One reason is that it understands the importance of building relationships with its various stakeholders, customers, advertisers, shippers, and suppliers.
Question 4.3. How has the changed economy affected what managers do? Find 2 or 3 examples in current business periodicals of activity and practices that organizations are using. Discuss them in light of the changed environment. What is the economy like today? Global economic activity is experiencing a broad-based and sharper than expected slowdown, with inflation higher than seen in several decades. The cost of living crisis, tightening financial conditions, the lingering COVID-19 pandemic all weighed heavily on the outlook. Managers have to pay attention to those that could constrain organizational decision and also actions. Move to the next slide. How has the changed economy affected what managers do? Today's economy has the potential to influence a manager's planning, organizing, leading, and also controlling. Productivity is an important measure of how well an economy is doing. Factors that affect productivity include types and pace of innovation, changes in work practices, technology, levels of workforce education, training, and skill. As economic growth languish and sputtered, the, the bottom line is that business leaders need to recognize how societal attitudes in the economic context also may create constraint as they make decisions and manage their business. Example in current business periodicals of activity and practices that organizations are using and discuss them in light of the changed environment. The industry has been directly impacted by the pandemic, especially restaurant, airline, cruise, media production, manufacturing. During the pandemic, telecommuting and video conferencing have been the only safe options. Zoom offers a video communication platform and its headquartered in California. At the end of fiscal year 2020, Zoom had a market cap of 66.5 million, an increase of 412.92% compared to the same period in 2019. As of April 2020, Zoom had 300 million active users compared to Microsoft Teams' 200 million participants. Inflation rate higher than it's been since the early 1980s. Inflation measures how much more expensive a set of goods and services has become over a certain period, usually a year. Inflation is the rate of increase in price over a given period of time. During inflation, home improvement retailer Mr. DIY Group Sendian Berhad is committed to its always low price slogan despite the rise in operating costs and inflation in country. CEO Adrian Ong said the move to continue providing consumers with affordable products was data-driven, adding that it was efficient and sustainable business practices which allow the company to absorb the hike in price. At the same time, the ability to purchase in very large volume has enabled us to negotiate good terms with our suppliers, which helps to keep price low. Therefore, Mr. DIY give the biggest benefit to their customer? Moving to the next question, question 4.4. It's important for manager to pay attention to demographic trends and shifts. What is demographics? Demographics is the characteristic of a population used for purpose of social study and do have a significant impact on how managers manage. Being a manager by upgrading to the technology used and changing the strategy. Important for manager to pay attention to demographic trends and shift. Demographic change may also affect the business cycle and the monetary policy transmission mechanism. Monetary policymakers will need to continually evaluate this structural and cyclical effect in determining appropriate policy. Age is the particularly important demographic for manager. Demographic age cohorts are important because large number of people at certain stage in the life cycle can constrain decision and action taken by manager of business, government, educational institute, and other organizations.
My name is Tong Che Rong. So based on the statements, show that business operate in the external environments. So we have to suppose to discuss whether managers experience environmental stability in their business operations. In this context, provide local examples of environmental stability and environmental uncertainty. First of all, we would like to explain first what is the meaning of the external environment is. So basically, external environment is referred to the factors, force, situations, and the event that occurs outside of the organizations. When this unpredictable external environment comes out, it will have an impact of its performance in organizations. External environments is also including some of the examples such as political, like the state, locals, or global laws. Economics, like the interest rate and inflations, and social culture, like the lifestyles, attitudes, pattern of behaviors, demographic related to the age, race, gender, and technological and global components as well. All of these examples will cause managers are constrained and challenged by the external environments in which business operates. We would like to proceed to another part, which is we would like to discuss about what is the environment stability and the environment's uncertainty. So environment uncertainty is separated by two parts, which is became and relates to the degree of change in organizations, environments, and the degree of complexity in the environments. As we know that the components of the environment change frequently in dynamic environments. If change is minimal, then the environment is called a stable environment. Environment uncertainty also came for a few of examples such as unpredictability of the environments, the inability to predict the impacts of environment change, and the consequence of the responses choice. Last but not least, nowadays, we think that managers are faced with environment uncertainty, and it will become a huge impact on organizational outcomes, whether it is good or bad. When environment uncertainty becomes more seriously, it will become a threat to organization effectiveness and push manager to try to minimize it. We have to say that the manager is preferring to choose to work in the least unpredictable environments if they have a choice. But unfortunately, that options is readily available for them. In addition, because of the current external environments, most industries, especially in our country, are facing more rapid change, which has made our environment more uncertain.
My name is Han Yeap, and now I'll proceed to case study question 4-11. The question stated was, what role does CEO play in an organizational culture? What role do other leaders, managers play, and what role should they play? So now we'll look what does a CEO play in an organizational culture. So firstly, I will talk about what is organizational culture and why it is important. Organizational culture is the collection of values, expectations, and practices that guide and inform the action of all team members. We should think of it as a guide which can bring benefit to a company, a great culture, can lead to improved performance and brings out qualities that can make a company greater. So there are three importance of this organizational culture. First one, increase productivity. When employees are happy and satisfied with their job, they work harder, even though organizational culture can slowly become less obvious to employees, it's still ingrained in their daily work effort. Secondly, improve recruitment effort. A strong organizational culture, you improve recruitment effort and gain the interest of top candidates. Create a strong company culture that aims to attract the type of individual that you want working at your business and over time. Then it will improve company from every aspect. Thirdly, enhance employee engagement. Employee engagement refers to how committed, connected, and passionate an individual is about their work at a specific organization. When they are doing a job or work with full of passion, it will encourage them to work even harder and the company will eventually become more successful. Talk about role CEO play in an organization. Firstly, oversee the strategic direction of an organization. Lower level managers are often more engaged in the day-to-day operating activities of a company. A CEO usually synthesizes this result and decides on the long-term plans of a company. The second role of a CEO in an organization is implement changes and proposals plan. After crafting the long-term vision, a CEO usually looks to themselves and other executive leadership to begin implementing those plans. Changes are often directly implemented by operational managers, but it is ultimately up to the CEO to ensure the long-term plans are being followed through. The third role of CEO play in an organization is engage in media obligation and public relations. A CEO is often the face of the company, and this includes being involved in media relations. A CEO may speak at conference, address the public on notable changes to the company, or participate in community events. So now I will proceed to the next question. What role do other leaders or managers play, and what role should they play? Firstly, I will talk about the roles of the leaders. Firstly, the roles of leaders are set the vision. Leaders are visionaries. They have a clear vision of where they want their organization to be in the future. However, they themselves are not the only one who are responsible for making that vision to come true. Secondly, the roles of the managers are think ideas. Leaders are more about looking for opportunities to improve in the organization level. They do so by coming up with new ideas which can bring benefits to the company. In other words, managers always look for answer to how and when, while leaders look for answer to what and why. Nextly, I will talk about the roles of the managers. The roles of the managers are follow the vision. Managers play a crucial role, while leaders may be responsible to transfer the company mission, vision, and goals to the entire organization. Managers are responsible for keeping employees to follow the company value and goals. Secondly, the roles of the manager are think execution. The manager main responsibility is to fulfill their task based on the leader's vision. Their main job is to ensure that people on different functions with different responsibilities operate efficiently and productively. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Next up is case study question 4/12. The question given is using exhibit 4.4. Describe Uber's culture under its founder. So, the culture here refers to organizational culture. And I believe that you have a good understanding in organizational culture, as it had been explained by Han Yeap just now. Thus, let us see what types of culture are there in an organization. So this is just a brief introduction to who the Uber's founder is. As you can see, this is Travis Kalanick, the Uber's founder from 2010 to 2017. These are some of the examples of organizational culture. The first one, you have attention to detail. Degree to which employees are expected to exhibit precision, analysis, and attention to detail. Next up is outcome orientation. Degree to which managers focus on results or outcomes rather than on how these outcomes are achieved. People orientation. Degree to which management decisions take into account the effects on people in the organization. Team orientation. Degree to which work is organized around teams rather than individuals. Aggressiveness. Degree to which employees are aggressive and competitive rather than cooperative. Stability. Degree to which organization decisions and actions emphasize maintaining the status quo. And lastly, we have innovation and risk-taking. Degree to which employees are encouraged to be innovative and to take risks. Based on the Uber case study from the textbook, I have summarized the case study, and I believe that these are the organizational culture of Uber under its founder, Travis Kalanick. The first one is innovation and risk-taking. This is because of Uber's mission around certain foundational beliefs: pursue hypergrowth at all costs, win at all costs. Next up is outcome orientation. Nowhere was there any indication that collaboration and teamwork were valued at Uber, as they only valued results. The ride-hailing service particularly emphasized meritocracy, the idea that the best and brightest will rise to the top based on their efforts, even if it means stepping on toes to get there. Furthermore, workers are sometimes pit against one another, and where a blind eye is turned to infractions from top performers. Lastly, aggressiveness. Kalanick shaped Uber to be confrontational, but be principled. And mottos such as always be hustling and toe-stepping actually shows the aggressiveness of Uber's culture. That's all from me.
Good day, everyone. I'm Foong Yi Hern, and now I'm going to present my answer for question 4-13, which is, which view of management do I see play out here, the omnipotent or the symbolic? Before I start to answer the question, let me introduce two types view of management, which is omnipotent view of management and symbolic view of management. First, omnipotent view of management is the view that managers are directly responsible for an organization's success or failure. Difference in performance are due to decisions and actions of managers. Meanwhile, symbolic view of management is the view that organization's success or failure is due to external factors outside managers' control. Difference in performance are influenced by external factors such as economy, government policies, competitors' action, etc. For your understanding, the basic difference within omnipotent and symbolic view of management is whether they blame the responsibility on themselves or the others. So, in my opinion, view of management I see play out there is omnipotent view of management, which because Uber founder Travis Kalanick's aggressive style and way of doing business has created a confrontational culture that will lead to a decline in Uber's image. Let's see what had Travis Kalanick and his managers done. There's a few Kalanick's and Uber managers' behavior which cause declining of Uber's image. For example, Kalanick's heatedly arguing over fares with an Uber driver, and his behavior is captured by other people car dash cam. Yeah, and besides, Uber also leaves unsafe cars for drivers in Singapore. Uber also hide data breach for over a year to avoid legal responsibility. After that, Uber also routinely use a remote system to lock down office equipment to shield files from police raids. And Uber also proposed an outrageous theory that the raid by a Uber driver in India actually is set out by an India rival. The people who propose this theory is totally irresponsible. Hence, the consequences of Uber management's behavior is the executive ranks depleted and the complaint of sexism and sexual harassment are ignored, which will disappoint the community. So first, we can see that from this example actually is omnipotent view of management, which the Uber's management behavior is directly responsible for Uber's failure, and it could be seen from the consequences here. So thanks for watching, and I pass it to next presenter.
Thank you, Yi Hern. I'm Zhun from Group 4. Now I'd like to present about question 14, which is, what advice about organizational culture would you give the new CEO? So without further ado, let's us discuss about the meaning of organizational culture. Great organizational culture is the key to develop the traits necessary for business success. So what is meant by organizational culture? Organizational culture is the collection of values, expectation, and practice that guide and inform the action of all team members. Think of it as the collection of traits that make your company what it is. A great culture exemplifies positive traits that lead to improved performance, while a dysfunctional company culture brings out qualities that can hinder even the most successful organizations. Culture is created through consistent and authentic behaviors, not press release or policy document. As culture is a group phenomenon, we use it to analyze the behavior of groups and make an assessment of the livelihood of group of people acting in a certain way. That is to say, one person does not represent a whole culture, and the culture does not represent the person. However, a group of people from the one culture is more likely to act in a way that is appropriate for the culture. Subsequently, people from the same culture tend to act in a similar way, especially when they are together. A strong company culture will attract the right candidates for the job and keep them engaged as employees. From a business point of view, this makes the culture factor an additional tool of management with regards to group of people. Next, for a new CEO, the question becomes, how much do I try to change? Change is not easy, and culture change has its own specific challenges. So you don't want to end up biting off more than you can chew. On the other hand, the door of change seems to open automatically when a new CEO takes over, and it will eventually close, which means change may be much harder to initiate later on. You don't want to miss your opportunity. So, how new CEOs can change organizational culture? So, and what can new CEO do? First, understand what you are changing. To change a culture, you have to know exactly what is you are changing. So, a big part of this will be an adequate assessment of your starting point. This can include a full-blown culture audit conducted by an outside consultant. Second, find personal alignment. When you seek to understand what you are changing, don't limit yourself to understanding the organizational existing culture. You should also be prepared to take a hard look in the mirror. Third, focus on result, not process. When you do finally get down to the nitty-gritty of changing the culture, rest assured that you will encounter some resistance along the way. You may want to check it up to a general resistance to change, but remember, people don't resist change in general. So they resist doing things that don't make sense to them. And More important, they resist doing anything where the primary reason is because I said do. Last but not least, expect and embrace turnover. Of course, sometimes staff members who resist change are not pushing back just to be difficult. They really don't like the direction of new culture, and in many of those cases, they should be coached out of the organization. Associations need to get better as separation. People quitting and being asked to leave should be more common and less dramatic, because the goal is to create a sharper alignment between the organization's culture and the approach of every individual employee. When the alignment is wrong, more potential will be realized in both the employee and the organization. And when the alignment isn't there, some people need to go. A great organizational culture consists of some good qualities. Every organization's culture is different, and it is important to retain what makes a company unique. However, the cultures of high-performing organizations consistently reflect certain qualities that a new CEO should seek to cultivate. There are 8 good qualities to form a great organizational culture that a new CEO should try to cultivate. First, alignment. Alignment comes when the company's objective and its employees' motivation are pulling in the same direction. Exceptional organizations work to build continuous alignment to their vision, purpose, and goals. Second, appreciation. Appreciation can take many forms. For example, public kudos, a nod of thanks, or a promotion. A culture of appreciation is one in which all team members frequently provide recognition and thanks for the contribution of others. Next, trust. Trust is vital to an organization with a culture of trust. Team members can express themselves and rely on others to have their back when they try to do something new. Okay, performance. Performance is key as great companies create a culture that means business. In these companies, employees motivate each other to excel, and as shown above, greater profitability and productivity are the results. Okay, next, teamwork. Teamwork encompasses collaborations, communications, and respect between team members. When everyone on the team supports each other, employees will get more done and feel happier while doing it. Okay, next, integrity. Integrity, like trust, is vital to all teams when they rely on each other to make decisions, interpret results, and form partnerships. Honesty and transparency are critical components of this aspect of culture. Okay, next, innovation. Innovation leads organizations to get the most out of available technologies, resources, and markets. A culture of innovation means that you apply creative thinking to all aspects of your business, even your own culture initiatives. Lastly, psychological safety. Provide the support employees need to take the risk and provide honest feedback. In conclusion, there is no easy path to culture change, but new CEO may have noticed a team running through these 4 tips. You can effectively change a culture without being clear about what your organization values internally and why those values drive success. So start with a culture assessment or other process that will identify where you lack that clarity. This will help you identify specific change that will strengthen the culture. Then make sure that you and your employees can align yourself with the culture in a way that has personal meaning. When you are transparent about what drives your success, some employees will understand that they are not a good fit for your culture, and those necessary separations will be easier. All of these recommendations involve one thing: alignment of what is valued internally, what drives success, and what matters to your people. Focus on the alignment, and the messy process of culture change will become more easier to manage. That's all for me. Thank you.
Part 1. Which part of this situation disturbed you the most? I would say the fact that a woman was raped by an Uber driver disturbed me the most. The case stemmed from a 2014 rape that caused widespread outrage against Uber in India and led to the service being temporarily banned in Delhi. The victim was a 26-year-old Uber passenger who was assaulted by her driver. The driver, Singh Kumar Wadia, was convicted of rape and sentenced to life in prison. The former executive, Eric Alexander, was fired on 6 June and Emil Michael left Uber on Monday amid pressure from the board of directors. While Travis Kalanick began an undefined leave of absence on Tuesday. The case was reportedly settled for at least $3 million. The company's board of directors unanimously adopted the report's recommendation, which include reducing Kalanick's roles and implementing basic business practice like a functioning human resource department. This company is supposed to safely deliver their clients and to their attention's location. The fact that this woman took an Uber expecting to make it to her destination in a timely and safe manner, but turns out to get raped, instead totally disproved the company true growth. Kalanick was so focused on making money that did not care if incidents like this happen. Now we look at part 2. What career advice as far as ethical behavior could you take from this story? Ethical nature of a company is important for the consumer and the overall picture of the company. Resolve all or as many ethical problems as you can to rid the company of negative energy and false labels. Ethical dilemmas within companies are not attractive to potential customers and can alter potential customers and can alter the outcome of the company. Finally, we have a summary of our presentation. Uber is the world's biggest ride-hailing company, a global service with more than 14,000 employees in more than 600 cities. The founder's aggressive style and approach to do business was fraught with danger, especially as seen in the value that shape Uber's culture. Having a good organization culture is important for a company for growth. A toxic work culture hostile to women and filled with managers willing to turn a blind eye to abuse of employees, competitors, customers, law enforcement office, and more. A leader in an organization play an important role in organization culture to make sure the organization works smoothly. New CEO of Uber, Dara Khosrowshahi, is 180 degrees different from Kalanick, and leaders must have a good views of management to make success. That's all from us. Thank you for listening.